Hey athletes, Coach Sandra here, back at it again this Monday. This time we're going to take a deep dive on carbs and what you want to be looking for as far as quality of your carbs, and following up on that homework assignment of reading your nutrition labels, and then getting into a little bit of tracking and some different strategies that we can use to increase that fiber. Because I know we talked about in the Nail Your Nutrition Kickoff, where the name of the game is going to be obviously number one, getting more fruits and vegetables in there so that we increase our fiber. But we also have some other forms of carbs in the forms of seeds and things like that, where we can increase our fiber that way. And that's yet another tool in our toolbox to increase our fiber and blunt that blood glucose spike. So, but before we get into that, I did want to just kind of take you on this overview of, everyone, I think in general, just has that bad connotation associated with carbs where, unfortunately, just the way today's society is set up, we do inherently think of carbs as something that is bad, because the majority of the carbs that we see around us, the way our society is set up, is unfortunately primarily processed carbs. But that's not what I'm getting at. I want us to focus on quality instead of quantity, right? So don't necessarily look for those carbs in the form of boxes or jars or whatnot, where, on the front of the box it says, super healthy for you, multi-grain, heart healthy, whatnot. And then when we go to flip the box over, we look at the ingredients and there's all kinds of processed things in there, or it's just so processed that the good micronutrients have actually been stripped from those carbs. So let's just take white flour as an example. The problem with white flour is the germ and all the components that have the fiber and have all the micronutrients in there have actually been stripped out in the process of making the white flour. And yes, while it makes your breads and everything taste really yummy, unfortunately, it just shuttles that glucose right into your bloodstream, and there's nothing stopping it or slowing it down. There's no fiber to slow it down, or and none of those added micronutrients that you would find in, let's just say, your Ezekiel bread, your sprouted grain bread. If we look at the ingredients on the sprouted grain bread, you're going to be able to understand all those ingredients, and we're not stripping all those essential nutrients out of it. Whereas with your white breads, yes, you're going to see that it says enriched flour, and they're actually having to add things like niacin and riboflavin and iron back into it. Why are they having to add those nutrients back into something that originally had those micronutrients? It's because they're finding that when they add some of these vitamins in, those wonderful food manufacturers have figured out that when they add those vitamins back in, it is actually, again, causing your body to crave those foods. You're not feeling satisfied. You feel like you want to eat more. So, you think they're doing something good for you by adding those extra vitamins in, but it's not in the package that Mother Nature originally intended for, and it still does just mess with our overall microbiome and our overall hormone function, because it's not in the doses that Mother Nature intended. So in other words, carbs are not bad, but we need to think of them in terms of hyper palatable foods versus foods that are in their original as pure as can be state. So the more processed, the more hyper palatable. And so these food manufacturers, they definitely have got this down to a science where they literally spend billions of dollars trying to figure out that perfect combination of sugars, fats, and salts, in addition to other ingredients that they're adding in there that make that food so irresistible that you just like the Pringles commercial used to say back in the day, once you pop, you can't stop. You end up eating more than you would normally if it was, Mother Nature's food. So let's just say you have a bag of Oreos versus a bag of broccoli. Which one are you more likely to overeat on? Is it going to be the bag of Oreos, or is it going to be the bag of broccoli? Our bodies, know how to self-regulate when it comes to something that is good for us, like broccoli. We know when we've had our fill, but all those sneaky ingredients and sugars and fats and everything that they load up in those Oreos, your body just doesn't know how to respond, and it gets tricked into thinking that it needs more, because number one, it's actually net depleting your body of micronutrients in order for your body to process those highly processed types of foods like Oreos, for an example. You're net depleting your micronutrient stores in your body. You're net depleting your magnesium and things like that in order for your body to figure out how to properly process it. So you're net actually in a worse position. So that's part of what's causing you to crave it more, because your body is like, wait a minute, now I'm really missing something. So your body's trying to play catch up. And not to mention the fact that all those ingredients light up that dopamine part of your brain that just makes you feel good after you have an Oreo. But then, of course, as we all know, an hour or two later, we're not feeling so hot. We're feeling lethargic. Maybe we have a headache after we come off of that sugar high. Maybe it even affects our mood. I know for me, if I'm not having a day, as much as I hate to say it, my body loves routine. And I know the more that I stick with having the same routine every day, my body thrives. So if I get my egg omelet veggies veggie omelet in first thing in the morning, then I have my coconut yogurt with my chia seeds and my hemp seeds and my protein. And then I have a big salad for lunch with all different, and I'll mix up the veggies every week. It's not like I'm having the same salad every week, but, mix up the veggies. But, my body thrives on that routine. So the more we get off track and we get into these processed foods and we don't have a game plan going into it, the more our body struggles with that. So, I've, kind of pinned down my routine where I know that it helps my body thrive. I have, fairly even energy levels throughout the day. And when I deviate from that is when I really start to fall off track. And then, the more we fall off track, it gets more and more challenging to get back on track. So, I challenge you guys to find that happy medium where you're not, necessarily planning everything down to the minute, but at least you have a big picture game plan of, I know when I start my day like this, that I'm set up for success. So I just need to keep rinsing and repeating with that as much as possible. And I know when I, stop for a break at lunchtime and I have these types of foods, that it's going to help fuel me through the rest of the day, and start making those connections of what foods really help you thrive, which foods don't help you thrive. And again, just trying to minimize as much as possible those foods that don't help you thrive, and obviously just focusing on filling your plate with those foods that do help you thrive. So I did do a quick little post over the weekend. I'm not sure if you saw it, but basically it just talked about that 80-20 rule. I don't want you guys to I need you guys to find that happy medium, right? So with this challenge, if you feel like right now you're just on the bunny slopes and it's not very challenging for you, then I do challenge you to kick it up a notch. So if just reading the labels, if you're already past that point in your fitness journey, then you need to step ahead to the next challenge, which in this case for us, it's going to be no alcohol. So maybe some of you have already started that. Maybe some of you haven't. But I want you to find that happy medium where it's going to be sustainable. And you can rinse and repeat as many times as possible so that you create that habit and it starts to become automatic. But what I don't want you to do is start up high at the black diamond level of this challenge where, if we skip to week 7, you're already at no processed foods ever. If that is too much of a deviation from where you're currently at, and it's literally a black diamond, and it's going to be, a very challenging and very overwhelming, and you're not going to be able to sustain it, and you have a high risk for derailing yourself and literally falling off the mountain, then don't start there. So my point with the comment over the weekend was just, if we've been doing a great job all weekend long of rinsing and repeating, don't overly, don't think that, okay, I went 5 days in a row doing a really great job and now I can just kick back on the weekends. Because I do think that there are a lot of us that we tend to underestimate how much we reward ourselves on the weekend. So ideally, we're not going to try and use food as a reward. Like, yes, I do want you to have that 80-20 rule. I don't expect you to 100% only be eating whole foods, no processed foods, and not having a little bit of sugar here or there. But the problem is that, if a lot of us after the holiday season, maybe we're at a point where it's not the 80-20 rule and it's more like 50-50. And if you're being honest with yourself and you know that you're 50-50 right now and you're trying to get back to that 80-20 rule, just don't let the weekends derail you. It wasn't meant to be a deterrent of like, guys, you can't have any fun on the weekends. That's not what I meant by that comment. What I meant by that comment is, for those of you where this is a little bit more challenging for you to get back into that routine, just don't let yourself fall back into those old habits over the weekend, because then it's very easy to just continue those old habits throughout the start of the week as well. So, let me know if that makes sense to you. If that makes sense to you, give me a thumbs up. Like, let me know, are we right now at a point where we're 80-20? Or if we're being honest with ourselves, are we more at like 70-30 or 60-40? Throw up some ratios up here, guys. If you have a little bit of time, give me some feedback here. I'd love to, kind of get some interactions with you live here, and let me know your thoughts. Like, what are our biggest struggles? Are we struggling with getting a proper breakfast in? Let me see here. I saw Alyssa commented. I can't see it. What are the biggest struggles? Are we at that 80-20 yet? 70-30, Nermeen says yes. And that's the whole thing, is that we want to continue to work on it. And as long as we're making progress, we're moving things in the right direction. But don't think that we can, go ham 5 days out of the week and then we can just let loose on Saturdays and Sundays. That's what I just wanted you guys to avoid. I hope that you didn't misinterpret that and think that I was trying to say like, hey, we can't have any fun at all on the weekends. I just was trying to, send you guys a simple reminder of, yes, we can undo all that hard work that we've done all week long, especially if we are focused on creating new habits. The more we rinse and repeat, the better. And again, as I did in the kickoff, one example that I used from my personal experience when I was in my 20s, working really hard all week long, super dialed in all week long, ate, super clean, hit the mark on my workouts. And then, by the time Friday night rolled around, it was like Sin City. I was drinking up a storm on Friday nights, drinking on Saturdays, drinking on Sundays. 3 out of 7 days out of the week, I was literally a hamster on a wheel for, I don't know, probably like a year there, where I was like, why? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I killing myself all week long just to blow it all on the weekend? So, my message there to you guys was just, let's not totally undo all that hard work we've done all week long. Let's incorporate those habits as much as we can on the weekends, but still recognizing that progress is progress, and not allowing yourself to totally derail. It is very easy to derail when we're in the beginning stages of implementing these new lifestyle routines. And the problem is when we reincorporate those processed foods that we're trying to take out of our daily routine, it's literally like cocaine. It's literally a drug. It's literally like alcohol. So the more we can kind of stay the course and keep rinsing and repeating, it's literally like detoxing off of a drug initially. Corey, let me know if you agree with that, because I know Corey successfully has done Whole30 in the past, and I hope you don't mind me shouting you out here, but she has done a really great job with implementing the Whole30. and stuck to it literally the whole 30 days, has made great changes. And, as everyone, we get into the holiday season, we have seasons in our life. She had a baby that kind of threw her routine out of whack. But the thing is, success is getting up one more time than we fall. So just because we have a season where we get off track doesn't mean that we can't get back to where we were at before. But I think the hardest part is just finding that happy medium that works for you. And that's going to be a little bit different for everyone. All right. So, don't think about how we need to cut our carbs. Think about how much we can fill our plate with all those high quality carbs. So, and guys, just so the non-starchy vegetables in general, they are carbs. There are carbs in Brussels sprouts, in broccoli. But yes, it's not as high of an amount of carbs as your processed foods are, obviously. And then obviously it's also offset with fiber. But there are carbs in those vegetables. So, don't think that just because you're loading up your plate with vegetables that you're not also properly fueling yourself with carbs. Vegetables do count as carbs. And it just, the benefit there is that vegetables are higher in quality, more micronutrient dense, and they blunt your blood glucose spike with the fiber, and they're lower glycemic index than your processed foods are. So don't automatically think that when we talk about carbs, that the only forms of carbs are rice or quinoa or sweet potatoes or your processed carbs. Carbs are in vegetables as well. So I definitely want you to focus on how much quality you can get on your plate and not necessarily about, how I have to limit myself with my carbs. How many different colors can I get on my plate? How much variety can I get on my plate with the food that Mother Nature provides? And focus on filling your plate with all that good stuff and less with how I need to cut back on processed carbs. And the more you do that, you're going to find that it becomes easier and easier and easier to just by default, you're so full off of all the fiber and everything in those high quality vegetables that we're filling up on that you're not going to have those sugar cravings. You're going to have more even energy levels, and you're not going to be enticed as much by those processed carbs. And it doesn't happen overnight, but the more we keep rinsing and repeating with focusing on how much we can fill on our plates with those high quality carbs, the processed carbs go down by default. So, let's get out of that mindset of I've got to cut carbs, because that is not the answer. The answer is filling my plate with all different colors of the rainbow and really learning to really appreciate the flavors of those vegetables again. If you're the type of person that believe me, I've talked to all different kinds of folks that tell me, I just really don't like vegetables. Well, I'm going to encourage you. This is definitely going to be more of a challenge for you, but I'm going to encourage you to, branch out, try different vegetables. And maybe at first we lean in a little bit more on like your sweet potatoes or things like that. But I'm going to challenge you guys to really, try the new different vegetables and, got a phone call there, and not limit yourself there. And you're going to find that, you're going to be able to, number one, resensitize your palate. Okay. So for those of us that have those sugar cravings or, we crave the potato chips and stuff like that, unfortunately, our taste buds have become desensitized, because it's like we're throwing these salt bombs at our taste buds. We're throwing these sugar bombs at our taste buds. So now, unfortunately, like I've talked to people before that are like, yeah, so I just have to eat plain strawberries. Yeah. If you don't, find the enjoyment out of having a plain piece of fruit, that is definitely a signal that your taste buds have been desensitized and you need to resensitize your taste buds. So again, the more we focus on filling our plate with all those high quality carbs and fruits and vegetables, it's going to reset our palate. You're going to be amazed at how 1 week from now, 2 weeks from now, your palate is going to change. The more we get outside of our comfort zone and challenge ourselves to filling our plates with all those good fruits and veggies, and minimizing those processed foods, you're gonna find that you find more flavor in simple things like a serving of broccoli. You're going to find more flavor in things like bell peppers as we add those into our veggie omelets. Okay. And that's the whole point of this journey, is that we're making baby steps. We're resensitizing. We're getting back in touch with those foods that Mother Nature intended for us to eat. And you know what? Quite honestly, at the end of the day, I don't want to be feeding the food manufacturers any more money than I need to. They are not producing foods to help us thrive. They're producing foods to make money. So they're going to throw whatever ingredients in there that they can to get you to buy more, to get you to not be satisfied, to get you to crave their foods, to give you that dopamine hit. They're literally the modern day drug dealers. And I don't know about you, but I am not going to give them any more of my money. I'm going to, focus on giving Mother Nature my money. All right. So let's give the local farmers our money and not the big food manufacturers that pump all kinds of crazy stuff into our food to trick us into eating more of those low micronutrient dense foods. Okay. Don't give them your money. All right. But with that being said, I know that there's, unfortunately, with today's society, we don't have time to be making all our own food. So I did take a couple of pictures, and I'm using all my technology right now. So I'm not actually able to show you the pictures, but I will do a post later today where I just kind of roamed around Costco and I took a picture of the front and the back of like some different types of potato chips, crackers, things like that. And I'm going to point out to you the different ingredients that I want you to be looking out for. But again, your basic rule, if you're eating foods that have more than 5 ingredients in them and have ingredients that you don't understand, then you definitely want to be minimizing those foods. And let's, during this challenge, let's not re-up on those foods and look for foods in quotation mark and look for healthy alternatives. They are out there, but they are going to be harder to find. But Simple Mills is going to be a great brand that uses all whole food ingredients, and the like. But, let's make sure that we're taking the time to read those labels and understand, that, all these food manufacturers are not on our side. All right. Let me do this. So I think, I've chatted a lot about quality versus quantity. Let's chat about, the timing. How many of us, eat carbs before and after we work out? I know some of us work out at like 5 a.m. I know, we got a lot of rooster crews that are joining in on this live. So that might be a little bit challenging, but I'll be honest with you. I have now, with me getting up so early in the morning, I cut off my food at like 5 p.m. the night before. So by the time I wake up the next morning at 3:30 and I'm getting ready to leave, I'm usually leaving around 4:20 a.m. So for me, I am making that veggie omelet and I'm eating it before I'm out the door. So I'm getting roughly a 12-hour window where I'm doing basically almost like an intermittent fast, but it's only a 12-hour window as opposed to like 14 or something like that. So my digestive system is getting a good break. And I'm hungry by the time I wake up. So even for those of you that are working out early in the morning, think about when you're cutting off your last meal. And then also let's be honest with ourselves about what time we're going to bed. And are we allowing our bodies to get that full rest and recovery cycle? If we're not, we might need to scale back our dinner to be a little bit earlier. And maybe we try and cut off dinner at like 5, maybe 6 p.m. and then try not to eat past 6 p.m. so that we get that good, almost like 12-hour window of no eating, and try and eat something before we come in to work out. I know that might be challenging for some of us that get up super early to work out, but even if you only eat like half of what you prepare and then save the rest of it for after you eat, I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. And even if you incorporate something small, like a small half a serving of some fruit, or, you can even count the veggies in your veggie omelet or whatnot as some carbs beforehand. But you definitely want to try and pair the, consumption of your carbs with the expenditure of your energy. So, carbs are going to be your most favored form of energy, that your body responds to well. So you want to, line up your energy in the form of eating food with your energy out in the form of working out as best as possible. So, for those of you that are working out earlier in the day, definitely make sure that you're having some fruit or some sweet potatoes or some potatoes or something along those lines with your breakfast that you're eating after your workout, and maybe even a little bit before your workout, so that the carbs are better paired up with your energy expenditure. And then, so if we do primarily work out in the mornings, you want to have more carbs surrounding that workout time before and after, and then you can taper down your carbs throughout the rest of the day. And for those of you that are working out in the evenings, you want to make sure that you're having some kind of a snack that has carbs in it. It could even be bell peppers and hummus. If you're trying to really focus on that glycemic index, it could be an apple and maybe some almond butter or something along those lines. But you want to have that like maybe an hour or two before your workouts. And then again, ideally having a dinner with a serving of carbs as well, so that again, you're focusing your carbs and pairing it up with your workouts and pairing up your energy in versus your energy out. Okay. So let me know if that makes sense. Yeah, great question, Nicole. I actually don't encourage a fasted workout. Now, I will say if you want to get away with it on like a cardio day, it's possible, it's doable, but obviously you're going to find that when you have carbs about like 30 minutes to an hour before you come in to work out, you're going to find that you have more energy and that you're going to be able to perform better. And when you're able to perform better during camp, you're actually going to burn more calories, and obviously you're going to burn, you're going to enable your body to build more muscle as well. So, I do, and it goes back to a rule that I think you might remember from a while ago. All it needs to be is like 15 grams of carbs. So it could just be, I want to say, like a cup-full amount of a sweet potato, something like that. But a little bit of that is going to be on an individualized basis. And that's where I do highly encourage you guys to schedule the focus meeting, and talk through, do you feel like your energy levels are more optimized, using fat as fuel or using carbs as fuel? Maybe it's a combination of the two. I personally see a difference when I have more carbs around that workout time. I'm better able to perform. But yeah, give yourself just a little bit before, and then maybe if you need to, maybe it's like 30 to 40% of whatever meal you prepare, eat it about an hour before the workout, and then have the majority of it after the workout if you feel like it's too heavy on your tummy. I get that. You don't want to be hopping around with a bunch of heavy food in your stomach. Or you could do something like jazz up your protein shake where, you throw a little bit of berries in there, a little bit of a banana in there, and maybe even lean in on your things like your hemp seed or your flax seed. Throw that in your shake. Have maybe 30% of your shake before the workout, and then leave the remainder for after your workout, so that we just ensure that your body properly uptakes that glucose. And don't worry, eating the carbs around your workout time, your body is going to, start to utilize that for the repair process. It's going to uptake it for the energy right away, and it's not going to store it as fat. So, don't worry about getting caught up in this whole fasted workout thing. I think even Coach Shannon will agree that, you can do it for a short period of time, but it's not a lifelong sustainable way to ensure that you're maximizing on your performance in the gym. It can be a short-term goal that maybe you do it for a month. But you're going to see that your performance is going to suffer when we go into a workout fasted. Okay. But again, the more we write notes down and track our food and make connections with how these types of foods make us feel, maybe you do find that your body responds differently. But by logging your food and making those connections, you're building your own manual of what routine makes your body thrive, what routine doesn't work for your body. So the more we collect those data points now, the better off we're going to be in the end in actually understanding what works for our bodies and our specific situation and our whole work-life schedule and all that good stuff. So is all that making sense so far, guys? Thumbs up. Yes. Just the more we get those practice reps in, the better. All right, cool. And here's another thing, going back to the hyper palatable foods. We talk about building healthy habits and tying a new healthy habit to something that a habit that you already have in place. Let's just say for me, my nighttime routine, whenever I go to brush my teeth, that's when I set out my workout clothes for the next day. Whenever I come home from the gym for the day, that's when I'm going to go ahead and start meal prepping my food for the next day, rinsing out the Tupperware, getting it all set up for the next day. So, tying new healthy habits to your current habits so that they stick. But what do we do if we have a bad habit related to one of these hyper palatable foods? Really, when we tie healthy habits to a current habit, the current habit is your stimulus for the new habit, right? But in the situation where we're trying to remove a bad habit, you want to think about removing that stimulus. So for you, if you're tempted by the fact that, there's potato chips in the pantry, and every time you walk through the kitchen, you're tempted to open up the pantry and dig in and get some potato chips, maybe the best way for you to remove that stimulus is to just not buy the potato chips, at least for right now. If we absolutely must have those foods in the house because there's other family members that enjoy them, instead of saying, I can't stop myself, let's just practice eating it in moderation. And maybe initially that looks like, I'm a big fan of getting the individual servings. I get the guacamole, the avocado. I buy the individual servings. Number one, it just saves me in prep time, but it also just kind of ensures that I stick with my one single serve of my hummus or my guacamole or my avocado. And, those are healthy foods for you, but they are also higher in fat. So that's just my way of making it simple and ensuring that I just have one single serving. So maybe for you, what that's going to mean is maybe next time when you go grocery shopping, think about, instead of buying the big bag of potato chips, get the little single serves in a bag so that if you do feel like you need to have a little bit of that, then at least you can tell yourself, okay, I'm limiting myself to this one single serving of the potato chips. And for right now, I'm willing to pay extra to get it in that single serve because that's going to be the physical cue for me that, okay, I've had my one serving. That's enough for today. So think about making little changes like that so that you can at least move the needle in the right direction as far as, going back to that 80-20 rule and getting out of that habit of, if we potentially overeat on something like a bag of potato chips. Has anyone ever watched their favorite show? They got their bag of potato chips, and then by the end of the show, they're like, oh my gosh, I literally ate the whole bag of potato chips. Anyone? Not just me? Is there anyone else out there maybe? So, using strategies like that, not keeping it in the house or getting it in the single serve packages, or if, you tell yourself, I'm going to put, a certain amount in a bowl. I'm not going to have the whole bag of potato chips. I'm going to actually, visualize just a single serving in a bowl, and I'm not going to go back for a second serving. at least then you visualized it and you know that you're limiting yourself and you're trying to keep it in moderation and not just having that whole bag in front of you. So, tell yourself, if you're currently telling yourself, I need to go ham, I need to go all or nothing, don't beat yourself up like that. Don't tell yourself, I can't stop myself. Just tell yourself, I'm going to practice eating in moderation. If we have to have those foods in the house, find a way to give yourself that single serving. Don't just, start digging your hand in the bag so that we don't realize how much we're eating, and be more intentional with it and being more mindful with it. At least when we put the potato chips in a bowl, by the time we get closer to that last chip, man, you're really going to be savoring that last chip. Okay. So take your time with it. If we're in that mode where we're like, you know what? I just need a little bit right now. I'm not saying to totally deprive yourself, but I am saying to give yourself parameters so that you don't go back into your old habits of, just having the full bag of potato chips or the full pint of ice cream. All right. So ice cream, I had some myself this weekend. I'm not 100% unprocessed foods. I did get, I think it's called Nick's ice cream. It is like a little bit higher in protein. And me personally, I do enjoy it. It might not be for everybody. And I do find that I feel better after I eat it as opposed to regular ice cream, because it's not as, they use stevia instead of, or it might be erythritol. I'm not sure, but they do use a sugar substitute. And that one, I do find that I'm able to eat in moderation. And I do have these little bowls that are literally like, a half cup serving size. And I scoop the ice cream out. I don't eat right out of the pint because I know myself, and I don't want to, at the end of that evening be looking back at an empty pint and, feeling remorseful for it. So I'm being intentional and I'm being mindful in creating that serving up front for myself. But again, we want to keep it in that 80-20 rule. And just focusing on the high quality. The more we focus on filling our plate with the high quality, the processed foods will go down by default. I promise, guys. So the next challenge, I'm going to post a few things. So I'm going to talk about it now, but it will help to see the visual. So I'm going to post a few things in the athletes page after I finish up here, just because, again, I don't have access to my technology right now, since I'm going live with you guys. But I'm going to post a couple of pictures of some different ingredients to be looking out for. High oleic, sunflower oil, those highly processed oils you want to be looking out for. You want to be looking out for your added sugars. So let me just show you this as an example. There is no added sugar in this. This is going to be a great chocolate chip alternative for you guys, cacao. So if I look at the back of this, look at the ingredients. It literally just says, and maybe you can't see it, maybe you can, organic cacao nibs. That's your only ingredient on here. All right. Organic cacao nibs. And you can see there is a section where it shows added sugar. And hello, guys, in this situation, there's obviously no added sugar. So make sure we're continuing to do that. And as we're purchasing new foods, that we're continuing to buy foods that don't have added sugar in it. Here's a couple of little hacks as far as increasing your fiber intake. I'm a big fan of flaxseed. So this, you got 2 tablespoons. It's going to be 70 calories, 4 carbs in it, and 3 grams of fiber. It's also got 3 grams of protein. So this is going to be a great one that you can sprinkle on top of your Greek yogurt. For me, I have to do the coconut yogurt because I can't do dairy. So this, by adding this, I'm adding more fiber to it. And even though there's not a whole lot of carbs in coconut yogurt, it's definitely higher in carbs than Greek yogurt, your full dairy Greek yogurt. So I do sprinkle in either the flaxseed or chia seed is another great one here. And guess what, guys? There's only one ingredient in this, chia seeds. And this one, it does have 13 grams of carbs, but 10 grams of fiber. So this is like a net 3 grams of fiber. So again, this is just another great way to get your fiber in. This is also an excellent source of omega-3s to offset the omega-6s that we tend to get in abundance from our processed foods. So this is a great like anti-inflammatory seed that again, you can sprinkle. Yes, I've heard of some people sprinkling it on their salads, but definitely, you can sprinkle it into your protein shakes. And if we throw it in the blender, it breaks up all those little chia seeds so that they don't get stuck in your teeth and they actually blend up quite nicely. Or again, we can throw it on top of things like a Greek yogurt or something like that. But this is another great one that really helps to blunt your blood glucose spike with all that fabulous fiber that it's got in it. And here's yet another one. And this is all the stuff that I will put. And I'll mix it up. Sometimes I'll put the fiber, flax seed. Sometimes I'll put the chia seed. But typically I'll put hemp hearts and chia seed into my coconut yogurt. So this one, 2 grams of 2 grams of carbs, 1 gram of fiber, 10 grams of protein. So for this, 2 tablespoons of hemp seed, 10 grams of protein, virtually no carbs in it. It tastes great. It's got that really great nutty flavor and texture to it. It does have 16 grams of fat, but this is a good source of fat, guys. It's got an abundance of omega-3s in it, again, to help offset those omega-6s that we get in those processed foods. And it's primarily polyunsaturated fats. So, and I know that there's a debate about saturated fats or whatnot, but this is definitely a heart healthy item, guys. So again, this could be one that it would go great to sprinkle it on top of your salad, sprinkle it within your quinoa, something like that. And again, a great one to throw on top of your coconut yogurt or your Greek yogurt, and it's just going to give you that much oatmeal. You could throw it in your oatmeal. This one and the chia seed, a great complement to oatmeal. And honestly, I would count that as a savory breakfast because again, you're getting great sources of fiber in there, great sources of protein in there. So you can do this with like a 1/4 cup of oatmeal, do 2 tablespoons of the hemp heart seeds, maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of the chia seeds. And that's going to be a great mix of protein, a great mix of omega-3s, and a great mix of fiber that's going to ensure that you don't have that blood glucose spike first thing in the morning. So if you're not like a veggie omelet fan, I will let you count this as like a savory breakfast. If we incorporate the hemp seeds and or the chia seeds and flax seeds, and you know what? Go hog wild and throw some cacao on top. All right. So these are just kind of some tricks that I have up my sleeve as far as ways to increase my fiber and just to ensure that I don't get the blood glucose spikes from the different, and then I'll throw fruit on top of the coconut yogurt as well. So and fruit has fiber in it too, but these guys just really do a great job of blunting that blood glucose spike. And here's another excellent one, cinnamon. So again, if we're doing oatmeal for breakfast, or if we're doing some kind of Greek yogurt or coconut yogurt or something like that, cinnamon is another great one to help blunt that blood glucose spike. It's got multiple benefits to it. Ideally, you want to get the Ceylon, Ceylon, Ceylon cinnamon. But I go to Costco. This is all they have at Costco. So I use the Saigon cinnamon. But if you're going to go for really high quality, go for the Ceylon. It's got a few more benefits, that would make it just a bit better than the Saigon. But, hey, if it's at Costco, it's good enough for me. And, it's organic, and a much better price point here. So I just go with what I find at Costco. And, I got the majority of this stuff at Costco too. This you can get at Costco. A whole bag of this is going to last you like a couple of months. It's going to cost you maybe like $10. Sometimes it's on sale. Same thing here. A huge bag of this. It's going to last you a few months because you're only going to use like 1 to 2 tablespoons per day. That was about $10 at Costco. And then the flaxseed, I don't see it at Costco. Maybe you guys can let me know if you see it there. This one, I think I did end up getting it at Publix. Maybe I got it at Walmart, and a little smaller bag, but same thing. This one's going to be about maybe $6 to $10, and it's going to last you a few months. And again, just really, really great sources of micronutrients, as well as the fiber. And guys, just to show you another thing, this isn't carb related, but just to show you some super clean ingredients and some brands that you can rely on. Number one, as I mentioned before, Primal Kitchen, great source of pre-made foods that you can buy at the grocery store that you don't have to worry about. They're always going to use high quality ingredients. So this one, Epic Brands, I do really like this brand. They've made some chips. They are quite crunchy. They're more crunchy than regular potato chips. But the nice thing about this is, one bag of this is 22 grams of protein. And it was quite tasty. The texture was, again, a little bit more crunchy than regular potato chips, but this can be possibly a great potato chip substitute for you. And let me just read off the ingredients for you. Chicken, coconut flour, pink Himalayan sea salt, and sea salt. That's it. And one bag of this had 8 grams of carbs, 6 grams of fiber in it. Yeah, definitely crunchy. It's going to be even more crunchy than a regular potato chip. So watch out, Kaylee. This is a great alternative to regular potato chips if you're a potato chip fan. Not super high in the saturated fat. And again, it's coming from coconut flour. That's where the saturated fat is coming from. So not necessarily a bad source of saturated fat, because it's coming from coconut. So just to give you one option there, but I am going to post some pictures for some other options, some things to look out for as far as the ingredients with those kind of crunchy potato chip type items that at a first glance, they look like they're healthy, but then when you dig a little deeper and you actually look at the ingredients, not so healthy. So be on the lookout for that. I'll make that post a little bit later today. And the last thing I just wanted to go over with you guys is logging in MyFitnessPal. So I'm definitely hearing where a lot of you guys are really like kicking it up a notch. You're really holding yourselves accountable by logging your food in MyFitnessPal or some similar type of app. I would encourage you guys, number one, keep it simple initially. So as you've been seeing me posting in my stories, I'm, making changes. I'm switching up the veggies that I'm using. Might be switching up the dressings that I'm using. But for the most part, I'm starting my day with some form of a veggie omelet. I'm mid-morning having my coconut yogurt with my chia seeds and my hemp seeds and maybe throwing some cacao to kind of mix it up a little bit and some cinnamon. Then I'm having like a salad with different types of vegetables every week at lunchtime with some chicken or some salmon on top. And then at dinner time, that's where I'm going to have, some, a cooked veggie, maybe throw some potatoes in there, some quinoa in there, and some kind of a cooked protein. So I'm keeping it pretty steady Eddie every day and just swapping out the ingredients, more like on a weekly basis. So that's kind of making it easier for me to log in MyFitnessPal because there is a way that when you open up the app, and I'll do a quick video on it, where you can turn on the functionality to copy from a prior date. So if we're finding that we're pretty much keeping that same routine every day, then that will make logging so much easier for you. So maybe you're logging at the one time and it's kind of a pain initially, but if we pretty much have the same routine every day, logging is going to be so easy for you because then you're going to be able to just, there's like 3 dots next to each meal. You hit the 3 dots, copy from prior date, and then you could just flip it back to yesterday at the same time. And then it literally copies over the same exact ingredients. And maybe you need to edit 1 or 2 ingredients if you switch them out. And then that's it. It's easy. Another thing that you can do is create a recipe. So like, I believe for my coconut yogurt, I've named it, like protein yogurt. And that's where I've got my scoop of protein in there. I've got my 1 tablespoon of chia seed. I've got my 1 tablespoon of hemp seed. Honestly, you don't even need to log the cinnamon. There's no calories or macronutrients in cinnamon. And I'm pretty much eating that every day, but I might switch out the fruit. So I can just, create a recipe call it protein yogurt. And then when I type up protein yogurt, it pops it up. And then I just log it. I think Coach Shannon, she does it where she'll say Shannon's protein yogurt, so that she knows that that's the one that she created. So it just makes it easier for you to know that that's the one I've made, not one that someone else has made. And then, for me, the base of my coconut yogurt every day is the same. I'm doing the 1 chia seed. I'm doing the 1 tablespoon of hemp seed, and I do measure out my coconut yogurt. That's one of the few things that I measure out. And then, so that's easy. It's literally 1 swipe to log that every single day. All right. And then, you can also create a food. So those of you that are utilizing the Mind Over Matter meals, right on the top of the box, it tells you how many calories, how many grams of protein, how many grams of fat, how many grams of carbs. So all you need to do is create a new food. And then I just name it Mom, short for Mind Over Matter, whatever the name of that meal is. And then I think it says serving size. So I just put 1 box. I'm not going to put 300 grams or whatever. I'm just going to put 1 box. That's my serving size. And then how many servings? Just 1 serving. And then it takes you to another screen where it enables you to input your calories, input your grams of fat, input your grams of protein, and then it saves it for you. So the next time, if you order that meal, the next time you see it in rotation at Mind Over Matter, then you just pull up that same, you start typing that meal that you saved, and all the work is done for you already. It's already in there so that it makes it easier for you the next time you eat that meal. So definitely make sure that you put in the work up front to create a meal or create a recipe or create a food that you know that you're eating frequently, so that it just makes it that much easier for you the next time you go to log your food, if we are going down that path where we're logging in MyFitnessPal. I am personally using MyFitnessPal right now just as another layer of accountability. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not necessarily measuring everything down to the nth degree. I am eyeballing my chicken. So, if I see that it's a full hand size amount, I'm counting that as like 5 or 6 ounces of chicken. I'm not weighing it. I'm not measuring anything. The only thing I'm measuring is my coconut yogurt, first thing in the morning, or, whenever I prep it for the next day. And I am measuring out the tablespoon of the chia seed and the hemp seed. Other than that, I'm not really measuring anything. For my salad dressing, I have, these little to-go condiment things. And I know that that's 2 tablespoons. So when I fill it up, I know that I'm only limiting myself to 1 serving of the dressing. And quite honestly, I can't think of anything else that I am specifically weighing or measuring. So don't drive yourself crazy weighing or measuring. But if you find that it's holding you more accountable to, stay on your routine, then definitely utilize MyFitnessPal as a tool there. And Alyssa, as far as which brand of coconut yogurt, it's called So Delicious. The reason I like that one, and you know what? Let me grab it super quickly here so you guys can see it. I've got an empty container here that I can show you guys. I get the unsweetened vanilla. So there is a version of this. Make sure you get the unsweetened. So it says it right at the top, unsweetened. All right. And I know it might be backwards for you guys, but make sure you get the unsweetened, because they do have versions of it where they do have added sugar in it. So, but if we look on the back here, the ingredients: organic coconut milk, organic coconut cream, rice starch, and then pectin, which, that's a natural ingredient that they use in to make Jell-O, things like that, or I should say apple jelly and stuff like that. It does have natural flavor in it, but it contains less than 2% of the natural flavor: calcium phosphate, citric acid, potassium phosphate, and then live active cultures, locust, bean gum, and then they have added vitamin 2 and vitamin B12. So, a little bit more than 5 ingredients, and there's 2 ingredients that calcium phosphate, potassium phosphate. maybe that's questionable. But overall, what I like about the coconut yogurt is, I'm a huge fan of Greek yogurt. I just can't have the Greek yogurt. And yes, the Greek yogurt's going to be better than the coconut yogurt as far as purity, but this is the purest form of the coconut yogurt that I've been able to find. And again, I love the probiotics from it. So yes, Priscilla, I do add the protein scoop to my yogurt as well. That's to offset, because quite honestly, the coconut yogurt doesn't have any protein in it. I just personally like the texture of yogurt. So that's why I've decided to go with the coconut yogurt. But I do add the scoop of the protein. And sometimes I play around. A lot of times I'm using the afterburn protein, the plant-based protein, but, I'll also play around with using the collagen peptides in here. Just as another way to get more protein in. And that's how I, amp my protein up in the coconut yogurt. So this is definitely a great alternative if we add the protein to it, instead of Greek yogurt, if we can't have dairy. Okay. But again, if we get the chia seed in there, that has, if we do 1 tablespoon, you're going to get a couple of grams of fiber in there. And then the hemp seed was really the good one. If we do 1 tablespoon of hemp seed, you're going to get another 5 grams of protein in there. So definitely add to the coconut yogurt, to make it a little bit more micronutrient dense and help you hit on those protein macros to make it more of like a protein yogurt. But other than that, that was, the main things I want to go over. The challenge, going into this week and for the remaining 6 weeks of the challenge is going to be to not have any alcohol. Ideally, 0 is best, right? The more we can stick to 0 alcohol throughout these remaining 6 weeks, the better off we're going to be. But I also understand that we're at a different point. Everyone's at a different point with their fitness journey. So if you absolutely have to, if we have special events or you just need to have like a little bit of a release valve, then if you can, really try and limit yourself to no more than 2 alcoholic drinks per ideally have them together at 1 time per week. If you can limit yourself to 1 time per week, that's really going to help to minimize the impact of the toxins from the alcohol. And it's really going to help you get significantly closer to your goals, especially if, we've gotten into that routine. I know a lot of us, I still hear today where people say, you know what, during COVID, I just got into that habit of having a glass of wine every day. And I still have that habit today. If that is you, let's definitely challenge ourselves. Let's get off the bunny slope, go on to that next level of a challenge and see if we can challenge ourselves to no more than 2 drinks per week. Ideally, have those 2 drinks together so that we minimize the exposure to alcohol as a toxin. So we want to minimize the exposure to that toxin. But any kind of progress is progress. So if you're finding that, you really cannot limit yourself to just one time per week, then as long as you're doing better than you were yesterday, I'm still going to give you kudos for that. And I'm still going to say that you earned your gold sticker. All right. And I want to see more gold stars on those trackers, guys. I'm definitely seeing a lot of them, but I want to see more of you giving yourselves positive reinforcement, giving yourselves kudos for doing a great job. Because as long as we're doing better today than we were yesterday, we're making progress. We're getting 1 step closer to our goals. So that's going to be, in addition to reading the labels for the remainder of the challenge, we're going to challenge ourselves to no alcoholic drinks whatsoever if we can do that. But ideally, definitely no more than 2 drinks per week. And remind yourself that if we're having more than 2 drinks per week, really, you're getting to where you're doing yourself a disservice. And I'd love to see you challenge yourself a little bit more. And then guys, next week, we'll do this same time, same place. Let me know, do you guys find the lives helpful? I love to see the interaction with you guys. I love the questions that we're seeing. We can continue to do this, or if, let me know if you're okay with watching a replay, or if you're okay with me pre-recording, because obviously I've got some technical difficulties with not being able to show you, pictures and stuff, but I will definitely share all that information with you after we finish up the live live here. But give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the lives and you want to continue seeing them. And if so, I'm more than happy to continue to do this. I love our little lunch and learns. And we're definitely going to, share this information every Monday so that we get remotivated. But let me know, I want this to be very interactive, and you let me know what you think. All right. I appreciate that. Pre-recorded. Okay, Donna, I like it. I missed you this morning. I'm going to see you tomorrow, right? So I love our little lunch and learns. I definitely love the interaction here. So maybe we can continue to see more people hopping on live as they kind of catch on to these 12:15s. But I appreciate you guys. I think you guys are crushing it. I see you guys tagging me in your stories. I love it. I love seeing you go for your walks. I love seeing you tag me in your savory breakfast, or incorporating the veggies. I love how Morgan, she's showing me her big sheet pan of veggies that she's prepping on over the weekend. I love it. Keep sharing. You guys are holding me accountable. It's motivating me, and I'm sharing with you guys in the hopes that it's motivating you as well. So, sharing is caring. Donna had to sleep in because of the playoffs. Okay, I'll take that one, Donna. I did hear from Peggy that you were going to the afternoon camp, so definitely get it in. It's a good one today. All right, guys. I love you. Stay on track. Let's see some more gold stars. And let me know if you have any questions related to all this. And I'll post those couple of pictures that we talked about. And let me know if there's any other questions in the meantime. And keep up the great work, guys. You're doing amazing things. I'm proud of you. And I'll see you soon. All right.